Okay, sir, the recording has started.
Okay, thank you, Link. It is now 2 p.m. We will now call our October the 8th, 2020 meeting to order. Let's start by standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chancellor Head, has the meeting notices been posted?
They've been posted in accordance with the law.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Board members, we don't have any items for closed session today, so I'm going to skip item 4 and move down to item 6, which is introductions and special guests and recognitions, if the council has any.
Helen, I don't. So. Correct.
No, sir. No.
I don't. No. Okay.
Okay, Helen, I understand we do have, though, individuals wishing to make public comments. And if that's accurate, we can get that started.
Okay, yes, Trustee Smith, we had 4 people sign up. 3 of them are waiting in the attendee room, but I'll also call out the 4th to see if it comes in. The first is John Bergduff.
Okay. John, we're ready for you when you are.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, John.
Hi, I'm Dr. John Bergduff, representing AFT Lone Star College. We've all been through quite a lot since last time I spoke to you at the board meeting in March. In August, a member of the Board of Trustees asked us to write a statement of the union's position on returning to work. This gave us the opportunity to express in writing what we now want to express publicly. AFT Lone Star appreciates the approach that the board, Chancellor Head, and the administration are taking to reopening Lone Star College. Looking around the country, so many colleges and universities have been far too quick to bring students back on campus with far too few precautions taken, and they have paid the price with significant outbreaks of COVID and the need to reverse course on a moment's notice. By contrast, Lone Star has been cautious and thoughtful, keeping as many operations remote as possible and only bringing students back on campus in numbers that can be safely managed. Lone Star employees appreciate that and support the college continuing on its current course. In September, a number of AFT locals across the state, including ours, conducted a survey of school employees about how they felt about their school system's reopening plans. I'd like to take a few minutes to share with you how our employees responded on just a handful of the many questions we asked. We sent out our survey to all Lone Star employees and got 379 responses. Some of the respondents are AFT members, but others are not AFT members. Link, could I have the second slide, please? Great. One concern we wanted to explore was whether Lone Star employees felt supported by the college if they got sick. As you can see, over 70% of employees surveyed agreed or strongly agreed that they can call in sick without fear of retaliation. This speaks to the culture of trust that Lone Star is seeking to build. May I have the next slide? We also asked what measures the college could take to help employees feel more comfortable returning to campus. Notice that the measures that employees felt were most important are ones that the college has already adopted. These measures include hand sanitizer stations, temperature checks at entrances to all buildings, regular deep cleaning, social distancing, and a strict mask mandate. May I have the next slide? In addition, we asked employees how they felt the college should plan for operations in the spring. As you can see, over 56% of employees favor maintaining the current mix of classes, which is approximately 50% online, 25% hybrid, and 25% face-to-face. The Chancellor has already announced that we will maintain this plan for spring. I am glad to report that this decision has very strong support from Lone Star employees. Employees also support caution in bringing staff operations back on campus. We encourage each office to evaluate critically which operations have to take place on site and which ones can continue to be managed online. Employees value social distancing both in and out of class and support the efforts that many offices are making to bring employees in on a rotating basis so that only half of the staff are present at any given time. May I have the last slide, please? This question is one that I especially think is worthy of consideration. As you can see, over 90% of employees surveyed either agree or strongly agree that if a student or employee tests positive for COVID, all employees on that campus need to be notified. Building confidence in the systems that are in place will require fully transparent communication. Of course, employees and students who may have come in contact with an infected person need to be informed. However, much like we notify the entire college community of any criminal conduct on campus, employees believe that the entire campus needs to know when there has been a positive case and which areas of campus have been affected. Obviously, names of individuals must remain confidential, but employees are united in wanting to know the full extent of issues on campus. With thorough and transparent communications supporting the thoughtful and cautious approach to COVID the college is already taking, AFT believes that employees will feel safe and will be eager to support the operations of Lone Star as we navigate these difficult times. Thank you so much for listening.
John, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Could you provide Dr. Head with a copy of those points that you made in your slide presentation?
Yes, I will. And actually, we have other more detailed questions as well, and I'll be glad to send those to Helen, and she can distribute them.
Okay.
Be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Helen, we're ready for the next one.
Helen, you got that message right.
Dr. Halsey, you're muted right now.
Okay, I've moved Dr. Halsey in.
Okay, thank you.
There he goes. Like we have him on the microphone, but not visually.
That's probably a good thing. I am ready, though. Really, I don't need to be seen. Sorry.
Yeah.
As long as I have a few minutes, then I can get out of you guys' way.
That worked.
Okay, Trustee Halsey, we're ready for you to speak.
Great. Thank you, Helen. Dr. Head and Chairman Smith, board, I want to thank you for letting me take some of your valuable time for a strictly selfish reason to say thank you. This last January, my wife, Lynette, received not a very good diagnosis. And starting in February, we started like 50 trips to MD Anderson. One episode of which on June the 2nd, she had surgery on her right leg. And as we speak right now, she's at physical therapy and cancer free. And the reason I'm calling is because I received a really good advice from Dr. Kyle Scott, because he's had the same thing happen in his family a few years ago. And he gave me some coaching, which involved wound up me asking Helen Clardy to be the point person for all my friends at Lone Star. And so that I wouldn't have to field text messages and phone calls. And I'm going to tell you that was some of the best advice I'd ever received. And Helen did a masterful job. Of course, there's a few of you that kind of reached around the corners from time to time, and I understand. But I want the board to know, and anybody listening to know, that Helen is solid gold. We actually have a lot of stories we could tell, including a common background with general officers, which is one of the jobs that she managed. Some general officers back in the day for one job she had. And I was raised in the military and I was on active duty myself. I was around general officers. She is the one that can run things. And I so much appreciate her. Lynette so much appreciates her work. The work that she did for me whenever I was on the board, and the work that she did for these last 6 months or so. I'm going to have to stop because I'm going to lose it here in a minute, but I really appreciated my 13 years on the board. I learned, I got more than I gave, and it's still part of my life. I had to take the year off after I left the board just to try to distance myself because I became so invested in the whole operation, but I'll be back. And so, Dr. Head, Chairman Smith, thank you for this time. I really appreciate it, and we'll be seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and Dr. Halsey, we really appreciate your service on the board while you were here, and our prayers have been with you and your family. So, and also thank you for speaking kind words about Helen. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Halsey.
Thank you.
We're going to call Evan Carroll up again, as there's one caller who's unidentified on the attendee list, to see that if that is he.
Okay.
So Link is going to take care of that.
Helen, did he actually call in or sign in?
There's one unidentified caller in the attendee list, so we don't know if that's Mr. Carroll.
Okay. I received a note right before this that I think his issue is he's taking another tack, but I'm not positive about that. That email just came in.
Okay. And we will move on to our next speaker, Pastor Michael Pender from Fallbrook Church.
Okay.
Pastor Holder
Pastor Holt is the associate
It's
minister at Fallbrook.
Pender, Michael Pender.
one moment. Okay, it's all set now.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Um, Again, good afternoon, Dr. Head and trustees of Lone Star College. It is certainly a pleasure for me to update you on the amazing partnership with Lone Star and give you all a construction update on Lone Star Houston North at Farbrook that this community is certainly on fire about. First, Farbrook's partnership with Lone Star has been certainly the most positive and productive partnership that our church has ever had that directly benefits the community. Working and visiting with Dr. Head, trustees, and Lone Star staff, it has been nothing short of amazing working with this great team. Now, considering the scope of this project and all the people involved, it amazes me how well we work together. Our community is certainly excited about this opportunity to help young people to grow, advance themselves through what we all believe and know is the power of education. So, that the more we educate our children, the more we change their trajectory, not only their trajectory for forever, but also the next generation as well. An update on this just beautiful building is on the 22nd. They should be having the fire marshal come through, and I believe like November the 2nd or something like that, the building should be turned over. So they moving along. Several of I know Dr. Head, Dr. Wright, and several trustees have been through the building several times, and so they're moving right along. And again, we're excited about it. Everybody from the Lone Star team who designed the building, when you see it, they did a remarkable job. And so Dr. Head and his team, they did a remarkable job. And in fact, I'm kind of jealous because the building looks so much better than the building we got. So and a few of our members walked through the building and they was like, Pastor, why we don't have this? Why we don't have this? Why we don't have this? So every time you build something new, technology come out and things are nicer and better. So but anyway, I'll deal with that. But anyway, it's a beautiful building, and but I certainly want to say that it has been a pleasure working with Dr. Head and his team, the staff. I don't know how y'all do it, but we've never had any like bumps in the road and stuff like that. We've never had any problems, and that normally doesn't happen during construction when you're working with people and stuff like that. So we've not had any of that, and so I want to commend you all for that, and again thank Dr. Head and his staff and every step of the way. Dr. Head has been willing to go above and beyond to make sure that all the needs of this campus is taken care of. So they oh, hold on. I understand that my camera wasn't on, but it's too late because meeting's on. I'm done.
Okay,
There we
well,
go. Now y'all can see me.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So, but anyway, that's all this technology. I really apologize for that because I thought the camera was on. I was making sure that I had my stuff together. But hopefully y'all heard everything and y'all heard my heart and you don't have to see my face. But really appreciate y'all. Sometimes bring tears to my eyes of what's coming for all of the beautiful kids that live in this community. And so this is such a tremendous blessing. But appreciate you guys, love you guys, and thank you for the opportunity to partner with Lone Star. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, we want to thank you also, Pastor, for what you've done to make this a reality. And thank you for complimenting our staff also for a job well done. Keep up the good work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, Helen, any Any others?
No, we don't have any others right now, sir.
Okay. One of the things I want to do before we move on, and someone made a suggestion that we do this for record purposes and et cetera, and I agree, because I really can't tell who all is here. So I'm going to do a roll call. When I call your name, if you please indicate present so I can make a note of it. Trustee Good. Trustee Lloyd. Trustee Murillo.
Present.
Trustee Pierce.
Here.
Okay. Trustee Saldivar. Saldivar. Okay. Alton Smith here. Trustee Stoma.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Sullivan.
Here, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Trustee Vaught.
Here.
Thank you.
Trustee Smith, we just got correspondence from Trustee Lloyd through another trustee that he is trying to log in. And so Link is working with him to see if we can get him in.
Okay, if somebody would remind me later on that he made it so I can make sure the facts are correct, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, Dr. Head, we don't have a workshop, so I'm going to move to the next item. At this point in time, we need to approve the minutes, and there are 3 sets of minutes. And I'm going to take each one of the sets separately for a motion and a second, and then a vote. So the first one, I'd like to get a motion on the minutes of August 20, 2020, workshop and regular meeting. May I have a motion and a second?
So move.
Second.
It's moved and properly second that we approve the minutes of August the 20th. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passed unanimously. The second motion that I need is for our special meeting that was held on September 24th, 2020. May I have a motion and second?
So move.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve the minutes of September 24th. Any questions? If not, all those in favor, vote by the usual sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One, let the record show that one person opposed. Okay, and the last set of minutes we need to approve, the one that we held, meeting that was held, the public hearing that was held on October 1st, 2020. May I have a motion and a second?
So move.
A second? Someone?
I moved, and I think someone seconded it. We got some background noise. It's hard to tell, but I think you. Oh,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Who's second? Board members? Did we get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that we adopt the minutes of October the 1st. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, so thank you very much. Dr. Head, any special reports or announcements?
Yeah. So let me spend just a few minutes and have asked Jennifer to come in on my part so that we can talk about where we are. It's substantial, but let me just give you a quick update. Then I have a couple of numbers issues that we're dealing with. So we finished the semester. We started the semester, and the enrollments are looking really good. We're at about 1% in student head student head count. We're down about 4% in credit hours, which is where our money comes from. And Jennifer's going to talk about that in just a minute, but keep in mind that we budgeted for -10. So we're in better shape than we budgeted for. And we did that on, we were trying to take a look at the worst case scenario, just so you'll know where we stand. So again, we're down a little less today. As of today, we're down less than 1%, which is really good. Head count. HCC was down 17%. Dallas, these are numbers that their chancellors gave me, or CEOs. Dallas was down 9. San Jac 6. Most of the area colleges on the Gulf Coast were down at least 10. Glenn was down 12. Tarrant was down 5, and Alamo was about flat. They were about where we are. So we had one of the lowest declines. That was a lot of hard work that went on to get our students. And again, the flexibility and the adaptability that our faculty and staff have had. I appreciate John Bergdorf's comments. We've been trying to work the best we can with the circumstances we have, and we've got health and safety at the top of our list. And so we're gradually bringing people back. And if we can go to that slide, Helen, or Link, the next slide. So this is what we're looking at, by the way, is we look at going through this year. This is FY21 and then FY22. These are just some major considerations for us. And so right now we're in excellent shape. And I've been sending a number of notes out about that. So, but we're keeping an eye on the future. We may be okay right now, but there's still things that are going on. There's some issues we have to deal with, and this is what we're dealing with. We're waiting on the spring 21 and summer 21 credit hours, and Jennifer will show you the impact of that and how that fluctuates or could fluctuate. We budgeted for 5%. We're counting on that, or we're expecting that from the state. We just don't know yet, and we'll see. And that adds, if it doesn't happen, then it'll add to our bottom line, but we just don't know. The state association, some of you are aware of this, has proposed a new formula, which we are opposed to the point where we dropped out of the state association. They proposed a change in the formula that would cost us a couple of $1 million. So we're taking our own action here. We're going to be we already are dealing with our legislators. We've been in touch with the Lieutenant Governor's office and the legislative, the LBB, as they take a look at the budgets and letting them know that we're not in favor of changing the formula. The proposal is to not use contact hours as much as they did. Well, that's the growth. That's critical for us. And so there's really a movement with a number of colleges, smaller colleges, to redistribute the wealth, which we're just not in favor of it. We're not in favor of changing the formula. We want to help the smaller colleges or be supportive, but not at our expense, where they're shifting money. We have more issues than they do. So we know that there's a possibility, right now, that the revenue cap could come back up again. And keep in mind that community colleges were exempted from that the first time around. And so we'll see. We factor that in. Jennifer and I have been working on the 5-year model. And our plans are to come back and have a workshop like we normally do in February. We'll have the information on the spring enrollments, and then we'll have an idea about what the state is going to be doing. But we're just talking with some of you, we're putting the worst case scenarios in there, then we can always back out of there, but we'll see. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen with assessed values. We saw some of the comments the other day from Harris County about their thinking is that commercial values may drop, but we're thinking about how that might impact, and we put that in our 5-year planning also. And then, of course, we don't know about COVID. We'll see. And I put question marks down there because we don't know what's going to happen with COVID and how that might impact the state economy or even the local economy or our enrollments. And then stimulus funds. And we weren't really counting on the stimulus funds anyway to get us through. So it would be helpful if they did. It would cover some of our costs. We were talking today about just ongoing costs that we have. I mean, we got PPEs, we got check-in places, and we want to make sure that we've done everything to keep it safe for our students and our employees and the community as we reopen. So those are some of the variables that we're looking at, and we'll have more information and we'll be able to close this and make it a little tighter in February. And the reason February is that's normally when we have our budget, but we'll have our numbers for spring by then. And that spring number is really important for us going forward. I just want to conclude though with, and turn this over to Jennifer, but we're in excellent shape right now, considering everything that we've been through, and we're very solid going into not only the rest of this year, but as we look into 2022. So Jennifer, I'll turn this over to you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mike Sullivan. Can I jump in for a second?
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Head, I want to thank you for the information.
We can't hear you, Mike.
The speaker went off.
The
Trustee.
job that Lone Star does. And I think it just goes without, I'm sorry, okay, so I'm not muted. Good. I think it speaks to the job that Lone Star has done when we are at break even, slightly up, whenever to you and the job y'all are doing.
Thank you.
Steve, could you repeat what he said? I didn't get it.
Well, he's coming. Sullivan, Trustee Sullivan, can you
Yes.
repeat that again? We were losing you. You were in and out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's Bluetooth, and I apologize. I just think that it goes without saying that when our numbers are so much better than our peer institutions in the state, that it's a very serious sign that Lone Star as an institution, as a system, is doing all the right things. And there are distractions from time to time, internal, external, from all over. But when you get right down to it, it's all about serving students. And our students are clearly saying that they're satisfied and we're doing the right things by coming back. Coming back in light of COVID, coming back in light of the economy, coming back in light of an adjusted learning process. So hats off to Lone Star for what they're doing. Dr. Head and your team, I appreciate the leadership. And I'm just going to say one more time, the numbers prove that people are happy with what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well said.
Next slide, Jennifer.
Yeah, next slide, please, Link. So yeah, just along with Dr. Head's message, I wanted to share what the financial update is so far for this fiscal year. I mean, we are only 1 month into the fiscal year. So in most areas, I don't yet have any sort of forecast on any changes to where we're currently at versus the budget, except for, of course, one key piece is the enrollment numbers, the credit hours. So for the budget, the approved budget, we had budgeted a negative 10% decline in credit hours. And that was for the whole year. So what I did here is I broke that out by our rough proportions of how much of our student revenues comes per term. So for the full 12.5 million of a revenue decline that was in the approved budget, you can see here that 46% of it generally comes from the fall, 39% the spring, and then 16% in the summer. So with that sort of breakout between the terms, you can then see on the far right column the change that we are estimating as a result of the decline being negative 4% rather than the negative 10 for the fall. There's two key things here. One, we still don't know what is going to happen spring and summer. So keeping those at the same budgeted assumed decline of 10%. So those numbers here are not changed, but did show the change in the fall decline in revenues. Instead of it estimating a negative 5.8 million, it's now a negative 2.3 million. So this is in total a 3.3 million positive variance to budget. So that is positive news, although I do still want to note that the actual result is still a decline in revenue. So I don't want to gloss over that, but it is a 3.3 million improvement to what was budgeted for. So that is the impact of the fall term. If we could go to the next slide, please. So here, I mean, Dr. Head already mentioned, he and I have already started looking at the 5-year plan. So already looking ahead to fiscal year 2022, right? I mean, everyone knew that when we approved the budget in August, that because of the revenue declines, it was definitely a difficult budget. So there were some one-time expenditures that were used to balance this current year's budget, those one-time budget cuts. So what I wanted to reflect here is that ideally where we get to is for the FY22 starting point to be completely balanced. And of course, we are not there yet. The approved budget did have an approved use of reserves of 5 million. That is that negative 5.1 million. When I then factor in both adding back to FY22 the one-time budget cuts, but then also factoring in this positive 3.3 million variance to budget, that still right now leaves our starting point for FY22 at a negative 6.9 million. So clearly we are not there yet, and we hope throughout the year that this can improve. But there I do want to note that we are very healthy, right? We have been purposely accumulating cash reserves. So we are forecasting to end this fiscal year at 19.5%. And there, even though the hope will be that the FY22 starting point will be balanced, at least we know if it's not yet back to a place of netting to zero, we do have these cash reserves to assist us in the 22 budget. So that's where we can definitely at least still start 22 in a healthy place.
Jennifer, I want to make sure. So the minus 6.9 is assuming that we have a 10% decline in the
spring and the summer terms.
So this is, again, the worst case planning for us. And if you, can we flip back to the other slide just for a minute, Link? Yeah, so for the board, you can see so the fall share is 46% of the contract hour. And then if you take a look at spring and summer, then you've got 55% or 50, whatever the number comes out to be there. So, I mean, again, we're taking, we calculated minus 10 because we just didn't know at the time and hoping it would be better, and it has been better. So the numbers you're looking at right now, it's just too early. We know we're in good shape. Even if we ended up with minus 10, we know we're in good shape. We're going to be even in better shape as our enrollments continue, and we're continuing with our marketing and enrollment, and we've got that as a problem. So, okay, Link, you can go to the next slide. I think Jennifer, I'll let you continue.
So if we use 6.9, I guess, million out of reserves, so we're down to full 10%, how much would that reduce our reserves by on a percentage basis?
That is, it would be roughly just over 1%, no, 1.5%.
So we would drop down to about 17%.
18%.
18%. Okay, got it. Okay, good. That's excellent. Okay, thank you.
Reason we know we're in pretty good shape. So we've got some, and we don't, shape. We're prepared. It's not, and I think for the rest of the board, I think the next time when we have the retreat, we'll go through the 5-year scenarios and all of our matrices that we have. For us, this is not about this year and next year. It's what are we going to do in year after the legislature meets. We're going to know what it looks like for FY22 and 23, and then that kind of sets us up for 24 and 25. And I don't want to go too far out because you just can't tell, but we just need to be realistic here and use some common sense. But I think we're in good shape. Our goal is to try to restore some of the items that we took out that we thought were important to our system. For example, we didn't have compensation. We didn't, and some of the things that Jennifer had mentioned, we've got R&R that we need to restore to the budget. And we had some other projects as we look to the future to kind of strengthen what we're doing. And so anyway, that's Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I might note is, and my apologies, I should have gone through and done that calculation ahead of time. But if we did have the negative 7 million in FY22, the ending cash reserve would be something lower than that 18%, only because you see the total expenses go up from the 382 million to the 389, and the percentage is a percentage of expenses. So with expenses going up, that number would probably be somewhere closer to 16.5 to 17%, ending FY22, if we needed to use the 7 million in cash reserves. So I did just want to make that note.
This is Mike Stoma. Just a comment or two. One, I think Jennifer and you and your team do an excellent job. I have no issues with that. You're good. And looking at the revenue and planning for the revenue based on what we can assume, I mean, we always need to do that. And along with that, from a 5-year strategic perspective, we have to look for new sources of revenue. Steve, you and I have talked about that several times. But also the expense side. That's the one that, Jennifer, you say you have the most control over, which you do. And it's I think, incumbent as a board and as a financial team with the administration to look at ways where we can deliver the education and services, more efficiently and effectively, and look at that expense side to see if we can't bring that down. So you have to look at both sides of the ledger, in my opinion, and that's the best way to do it. Because something comes along like this virus, or God only knows what it will be dealt next, and you don't know what to expect. But if you're in a situation where you're continually looking at your revenue and your expenses and adjusting based on current changes and anticipated changes, you should be okay, barring any real catastrophe. So I'm just making that a comment, because if we go into planning, which I'll say more about later on, we need to look at both sides of the fence, both sides of the ledger.
Yes, and if I can note, we are still continuing with the hiring freeze and the budget freeze of non-personnel expenses. We have internally a process where people have to approve essential purchases. So we are definitely still watching very diligently the expenses.
We agree.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mike Sullivan. I'd like to jump in.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let me ask Trustee Stoma, two things. One, he's talking about being more efficient and doing things better. Go back to my comments earlier. I think we're doing things pretty well now. Sure, you can always improve, but what's behind that? And then second, the statement that we always have to look for more revenue. Why do we have to look for more revenue?
Well, I mean, I'm about as straightforward as you can get. This is a good business practice. Businesses continually look at their revenues, trying to forecast what's going to happen. They also continue to look at their expenses to bring them in line, and also to, provide more value to their customers. And I agree with you, Mike. I mean, we actually agree on something, that the college is doing well, but not everything is static. Things change, times change, as we've seen this year. And it's important that we think forward, anticipate and look at these changes and plan. It's also important we look at the changes that's going on in our communities, the demographic changes that have occurred. And I can attest from my 68 years of being here, how dramatically they've changed, and they continue to change. So we have to adapt to those changes. And it kind of leads into what I was going to say in my report on a Fallbrook visit. You know, Fallbrook has the model that we need to look to for the future and examine, because they know how to service their community. And that's what it's about. And you're absolutely correct. It's about servicing the community and providing those services, but it's not static. It's never static.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is just pure, quite honestly, good business practice, best in class practice to plan ahead and see what we can do to improve on what we do. That's strictly my motivation here, is how do we improve what we do? We always should be asking that. Down to the classroom, each instructor, when they're giving their lessons, they should constantly say, how can I improve? Because you go and let's say you're teaching history. Well, you can sit down and you can teach that same class for 50 years. Maybe some people have. But what do you do to change that each year to bring more value to the student and provide more to them? You update it based on current events? Yeah, I would. My point is this. You have to improve in what you're doing. And we have to improve the services to our communities based on their needs and their changing needs. That's the only motivator here.
Okay, sounds good. I think Lone Star has demonstrated that they have adapted to change. Lone Star has been innovative. Lone Star has offered more and more and more. It's not to say that we can't improve going along, but I just tend to generally challenge broad statements that no one else does, because to the outsider, it could appear as though the silence is the acquiescence to full agreement there. And I just think the track record speaks for itself. And
well, it does. It speaks for itself. I mean, there's no argument here
Mike,
that
please don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking when I wanted to. I made sure I waited.
Oh, go right ahead. Say what you say.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I'll just say appreciate the chance to offer a counterbalance to Mr. Soma's statements. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's a good discussion, and we ought to continue to have these type discussions, to make sure that we're all on the same page and can continue to be as productive as we have been in the past. But thank you so much. Okay, Jennifer, you want to go ahead and finish? Go ahead.
That does conclude my presentation.
Okay. All righty. Dr. Head, you have anything? We're still under special reports and announcements. Do you have anything else, Dr. Head? And I'm not trying to rush you.
There are some reports coming. We are actually working on reports right now we're actually taking a look across the system, and we are doing comparisons with us and other colleges about, for example, what is the staff ratio per student at each campus? What is the faculty ratio? What's the administration ratio? We're comparing ourselves not only internally so that we can see, and we're looking for, Jennifer and I spent some time yesterday over this, looking at ratios internally. So how much should each college get to be fair across the system to make sure that we got that? And that's allowing for workforce incentives. And again, we're also taking a look at what other big colleges, our peer colleges, are doing. So there's some work going on behind, and we'll have much more of that as the semester goes on. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board members, you now have time to talk about visits, classes, and et cetera that you've participated in over the last month. So if you have anything that you would like to share with the group, now is the opportunity to do that.
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to share. I had a chance to sit in, and this is a mouthful, on the virtual session with the LSCCBAA. That stands for the Lone Star College Council on Black American Affairs. I know it's a long thing to say, but they had a virtual session, And I found it to do it was very innovative. I was quite impressed, and what they're doing. I like the conversations. It was positive. It was upbeat. But during this pandemic, it was worth it. It was something that it's a positive thing. I know that there are many other organizations, in the college system that may be doing something. And if they can hear me, I would like them to let me know so that I can sit in. But I really enjoyed it. And the benefits of it's called basically a virtual social event. And the benefits of it is simply people during this pandemic. You might have some people, who are not, they're accustomed to only coming to work and meet people. It kind of, limits that sense of isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And I really did enjoy it. And I think this is linked to worker well-being. A lot of times we don't think about our employees, but I think Lone Star during this pandemic has been thinking. And this is, to me, this is positive. So I want to give a shout out to LaToya Lewis and her panel. It was really good. And if the other colleges are not doing, well, other organizations on campus are not doing this, I would advise to follow suit. Also, I had an opportunity to do a virtual conference with the ACCT. That's the Association of Community Colleges Trustees. All by not as exciting as the LSCCBA. So the virtual, I've been to a lot of conferences on and off planes, and I like the virtual conference. It gives me a chance to sit in the comfort, of my home and enjoy, a lot of what's going on across the country. That's basically it.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Elton,
Yes, sir.
this is Ken Lloyd.
Yes, Ken.
I wanted to know if anybody had a chance to see that article that was in the Community Impact magazine, Public Education Becoming More Diverse in Students but Not in Teachers.
I did not. I don't get that.
This is my takeaway from it. There's some negative. People are somewhat concerned about the real high rate of economically disadvantaged students. We have some schools as high as 70%, but most of the schools in the Lone Star domain is pretty well over 50% of those kids being economically disadvantaged, with the exception of Tomball. Now, the positive side of that is that the graduating class of 2020 in our domain had more than 30,000 students that qualified for Pell Grants, which says that could have been anywhere from $15 million to $100 million worth of funds that's available. And when you look at, historically, we've shown that the Pell Grants have been billions of dollars of unused Pell money. So when you start looking at the revenue stream, revenue potential for Lone Star, personally, and speaking from a salesman perspective, we're only tapping into 20% of our revenue potential. So when you start looking at, and I agree with Sullivan and also with Stoma, when you start looking at the revenue and the expenses, we have a lot more revenue than we can imagine. It's just a matter of us being aggressive and going after it.
Okay, yeah. I'd love to see that, Ken. If you would send me a copy of that.
Well, yeah, and it's it's the numbers are there. I mean, we're only tapping into 20% of our potential, and I'm speaking from a successful salesperson and looking at all the prospects that we have. We have over 400,000 prospects. So I need for everybody to understand, don't get overexcited and get too far out there talking about the greatness. We have a lot more improvement that we need to make. And also, let's look in terms of what's happening in the economy. The oil and gas industry is on a downside. It's not coming back. So we have to make some adjustments for that also. So we've got a lot of room for improvement, guys. And we need to start looking in terms of where we really are and start thinking about how we're going to improve, or we're going to get left behind.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for those comments. Any others?
Mr. Chair, it's Mike. Just a quick report. I'm afraid Reverend Pender stole my thunder, which he's welcome to do because it's because of him and his congregation and their leadership, which is, a big part of the success of the Fallbrook Center's effort.
Yeah, well,
I
go
did
ahead.
visit there along with Quentin Wright. It's been probably last of August to look at the building. And I have to echo and say amen to everything that Reverend Pender said. The building's tremendous, and it's very useful, especially to workforce. You're going to be able to teach distribution, warehousing, and have a very interactive instructional environment. I think, the Fallbrook Church, again, has the model for the future in terms of community education. It's what I term a holistic approach, where not only are they, in their case, looking after the spiritual well-beings of their congregation and their community, but the educational, which goes along with some of the other activities, providing food and clothing and some of the basic things you need for families in a lower income bracket. It's a model we need to examine, and I know the district is doing a lot of things in a lot of areas, and I think we need to focus those and let people know exactly what we're doing and what's available. Maybe do an improvement there. But anyway, I just want to say I think the effort at Fallbrook is going extremely well. The ministry there, the citizens there seem to be very pleased with the support, as Reverend Pender had said, with the Lone Star College system, and it's just a model for what we should be doing.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to pass anybody by. Anyone else would like to add a comment on activities they've been involved in? If not, I'll go last, and I will be brief. Over the last month, I've attended meetings of the Community College Association of Texas, and I've had 2 of those. And I have also participated over the last week or so with the virtual seminars put on by ACCT. And it's coming to an end now, but I'm almost like Ernestine. I'm getting really used to and comfortable with Zoom video conferences. So it's a lot of good subject matter. Okay, if there are no other comments from board members, let's move to the consent agenda. Okay, on the consent agenda, we have 20 items. And items 4 and 5 will be considered separately. Are there any other items that you would like to have considered separately?
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
if I may, Trustee Smith,
Yes.
I would like to discuss 8, 9, and 10 separately.
Okay.
Thank
Hold
you.
on just 1 second. 8, 9, and 10. Any others?
Yeah, this is Ken Lloyd. 13, 14, 17.
13, 14, and 17.
Yes.
Any others? Okay, I would like to have a motion and a second to accept items, and follow me along and make sure I'm not including something I shouldn't be. Items 1, 2, 3, 6 and 7, 11 and 12, 15, 16, 18, 19, and 20.
So move.
Second,
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that we adopt those items. All those in favor, vote by the usual sign.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Those items pass unanimously. Okay, on items 4 and 5. Jennifer has a presentation that she would like to make to us before we consider those 2 items. So
Yeah, if I could go one more slide, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, another one. So yes, for items 4 and 5, this is the time of year every year when the board is asked to consider and vote on Lone Star College's tax rate. The proposed tax rate that is on the agenda is 10.78 cents, which is the same tax rate as was approved in last fiscal year 2020. This is broken into two components. M&O is the maintenance and operations rate of 8 cents. This is the area that predominantly goes into funding our operations, is that M&O rate. And then INS, that is interest and sinking fund, which is the debt service fund, that is proposed to be 2.78 cents. So that is, there's two separate board agenda items, one for the M&O rate, one for the interest and sinking fund rate. We can go to next slide, please. So here, this is just showing the appraised values in our tax base. And we have added, from the prior time, there was a request to see San Jacinto County, so we added that there. So you can see that they are the smallest component of the three counties, Harris County definitely being the largest, Montgomery County, and then San Jacinto County. But here we are projecting it's a 6% growth rate in appraised values once all final rolls are received. Next slide, please. And this just shows the 15-year history of tax rates. You can see for Lone Star College, the tax rate has been around the same 10.78 cents for several years now, and consistently for the past 15 years has been well below the state average. Next slide, please. And just to conclude, some brief highlights here is we did receive the initial rolls of certified values in early September, and we posted on Lone Star College homepage, as required by law, the calculations for the no new revenue rate and the voter approval rate. A board meeting to propose the tax rate was held on Thursday, September the 24th. A public hearing notice was posted on our website that same day and published in newspapers September 26th. And then the board also held in person a public hearing on Thursday, October 1st. So that is all the steps that led up to this here today for the board to consider this proposed rate. And then final note is that the interest and sinking fund rate is calculated based on the necessary tax revenues to pay the annual general obligation debt. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Jennifer? If not, then the ground rules will be, I will make a motion on number 4 and 5 separately. And I'll call for a second. And then we'll have to have a roll call vote on each 4 and 5 of the trustees that are present. And the trustees can vote for, against, abstain, or absent. So I'll take item 4 first and make the proper motion. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.1078 cents per $100, which is effectively a 5.27% increase in the tax rate. And that the interest and sinking property tax rate portion be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.0278 cents per $100, which is effectively a 6.51% increase in the INS tax rate. May I have a second?
I second.
It's been moved and properly second that we adopt this particular item, and I will now have a roll call and answer with the appropriate response. Trustee Good?
Is there no further opportunity for discussion or questions?
I guess we could. I thought we would do that earlier, but any questions, then go ahead. Go ahead.
I understand you're reading from a script,
Yes.
but I understand that it's an effective revenue increase. Is it an effective tax rate increase?
Yeah, and that's the same question that I have, and Jennifer did an excellent job explaining that to me. So let's let our Chief Financial Officer explain that to us.
Yes.
But I appreciate that question, Trustee Good.
Yes, that language that I read is the language that is required under state law. For them, the consideration is that the effective tax rate, which is, I have to change my own language now as of this year, now called the no new revenue tax rate, is that tax rate that would generate the same amount of revenues, no additional revenues. So the tax rate we are proposing, yes, is the same tax rate as last year, but because appraised values did go up and proposing that same rate would then generate additional tax revenues, the state language requires it to be described as a tax rate increase.
So because the economy did well enough that the property values increased in appraised value, there's a fiction in the legislature that requires us to say that there's an increase in the tax rate. Okay, that's just an editorial comment.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Any other questions before we go to a vote? Hearing none. Back to you, Trustee Good.
Aye.
Good. Saldivar is absent. Trustee Pierce?
Yay.
Okay. Trustee Stoma?
I vote for, yes.
Oh, thank you. Trustee Sullivan? Trustee Sullivan? Yeah, I thought he was there.
Trustee Sullivan had to leave the meeting at 3 p.m.
Okay, thank you. That's right. You told me that. Okay. Alton Smith? Yes. Dave Vogt?
Yes.
Trustee Lloyd?
Yes.
Trustee Murillo? Trustee Murillo?
Art?
I guess he left too, huh? Art, are you there?
No.
Okay.
1 minute, sir. Let me get him back in the room.
He's trying to get in.
He
Oh,
popped,
okay.
he popped back out again, so I just got him put back in. He's in there now, and I'm unmuting him.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
No, I didn't hear you. Go ahead. We're voting on item number 4.
Yeah, I've been following. I just had to go on my cell phone because I got disconnected from my other.
Oh, okay.
computer. So, yes.
Okay, thank you. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yes and 2 absent. Okay, item 5. Follow the same process. I'll make the motion and then ask for a second. I moved that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.1078 cents per $100, which is effectively a 5.27% increase in the tax rate, and that the maintenance and operations property tax rate portion be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.08 cents per $100, which is effectively a 4.85% increase in the M&O rate. May I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none. Trustee Good?
Aye.
Trustee Lloyd?
Aye.
Trustee Murillo?
Aye.
Trustee Pierce?
Aye.
Saldivar is absent. Trustee Smith, yes, aye. Trustee Stoma,
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan is absent. Trustee Vogt,
Aye.
okay, it's 7 ayes, no, 6 ayes and 3 absent. The motion passed. Okay, Trustee Good, you want, on items 8, 9, and 10, do you want to consider all those together?
Yes, my comments are the same. So I'll just raise my issue as it applies to all three. I'm having trouble making the math on the fiscal impact work. On action item number 8, it says that the direct costs for Xavier Educational Academy is $10,507, which is way more than it is for either for Fusion Academy or Christian Life. So I'm wondering if there's a typo in there somewhere, maybe an extra 0. And my other question is how we get to, if you take the estimated student fees, we don't get to where we're coming out ahead on expected generated income. I just want to make sure that we're not footing the bill here.
If I could answer some of that.
Thank you.
I need to get back with you over and give you the detail over this, but there's a couple of issues here that are not reflected in the way we do these reports. So it depends on the number of classes and what classes are being offered. For example, on some of the cost, if there's 10 students, that could be a direct payment, could be either our faculty or using their faculty. Keep in mind also that there's books that we generate money from, and our goal in doing all this without losing major amounts of money is that we want these students to enroll with us when they finish dual credit. But I'm gonna, if I could get back with you over the.
Absolutely.
Break this down.
Sure.
Okay.
That's all I have on that. Thank you.
I'll get you pretty quickly over that.
Okay, and I apologize for not raising the issue before today. I should have. That's my fault.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we're going to go ahead and vote on it, Trustee Good.
That's
Are
fine.
you okay with that? Since Dr. Hayes mentioned he's going to get back to you on those answers.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
okay.
Fine.
Items 8, there's been a motion to approve. Well, I guess I did it back. First, I need a motion to approve items 8, 9, and 10.
So I think you need a motion on each one. I don't think you can lump them together like that.
Oh, we can't?
No.
Well, I was of the opinion that we could.
I believe as long as you make it clear in the motion that the motion and second applies to all three, that's appropriate to do.
Okay. Are you good with that, Trustee Good?
It's fine with me.
Okay. And we got a second on from our brother Stoma. So it's been properly moved in second that we adopt items 8, 9, and 10. All those in favor vote by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Ken, I think the next 2 items are yours, 13, 14, and 17.
Yeah, I was just looking at Gessner Engineering. And I looked at that company, I guess, as far as the people, and my concern is I absolutely saw no diversity in that company. So that's my
concern. Okay. So that's item 13?
That's item 13.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll make a motion then for us to adopt, just go ahead and vote on item 13 and keep your comments in consideration. So
yeah, that's fine.
Can I get a motion to adopt item 13?
So moved.
Did anyone make a motion?
So move.
Yeah.
A second?
Second.
Okay, if there are no other questions, all those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
No.
yay. I don't oppose, I don't approve of it.
Okay,
I don't
Ken, and
either.
who was the other one?
Ernestine.
Ernestine, okay.
Trustee Pierce.
Trustee Smith, or
Okay,
Smith,
Trustee Lloyd and Pierce, gotcha.
Trustee Smith, CFO will comment on that because that's not what the, if you take a look on the second page over the evaluation tabs, they were actually given points for their hub utilization. On the second page of that, right after. So they
So
did receive,
Are you asking?
they received the maximum amount for their hub participation.
I think he's asking you, Trustee, I mean, Jennifer.
Yeah, so I would note that I would need to go pull up the actual scoring sheet, but their companies do also get credit for, they are the prime contractor, but often also hire subs within the contract. And so if they have a hub plan to utilize hub in their subs and within the contract, that also generates points. But to know specifically what got them the 5 points, I would need to go pull up the scoring details. So I can get back to everybody on that.
Just so we're clear about this, they received the maximum number of points.
Yeah, they did.
Point system that we have, so, which is 5.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point. I didn't remember that myself, but I know that's on the scoring sheets when you all send the board book to us. And I just automatically assumed that number was 0, and I didn't look at it.
Well, we can follow up with more
And if
information.
that be the case, then I'm their suspect of that number at all. So we can get into that later.
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, let's go ahead and vote. We didn't vote, I don't think. Let's go ahead and vote. What we did is two opposed.
Voted on.
Okay. The motion passes. Okay.
Number 14 is the next one.
Okay. Got you. What was the comments there?
That organization total revenue per year is anywhere from 1 to 2 million, and I think we're set up over a 5-year period to give them 2 million. In other words, their annual revenue, we're going to be providing 50% of their annual revenue, and I just get nervous when I see a situation like that. So I want to back off and say, hey, I can't.
I didn't understand what you said at the end, Ken. You said you're going to back off and what?
Yeah, I'm not comfortable when I see something like this. When you have a small organization like this and we're providing 50% of their revenue.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I might only note that if you look at the evaluation tab, so we do not evaluate total revenue of a company or what share of total revenue we would be as part of it, but from the proposal, we do evaluate ability to perform services. So you can see the scores that they got versus the other firms on that evaluation tab. Just to note.
No, I'm just,
One of the things I was suggesting we might, when we get the board book, we have those kind of questions. I think there's a resource person listed for those questions to be researched before the meeting. You might want to take advantage of that as a tool.
Look at the point system. I'm just, maybe we should review it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I need to get a motion to consider motion and a second to consider item 14.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and properly second that we consider item 14. All those in favor, vote by the usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, Ken, I think 17 is yours also.
Yeah, and my concern is that one is it says a 27 million contract, $27 million contract, right? Is that,
Yeah.
Okay. I red flagged those also. So that's all I'm saying is, 27 million. Need to know more about this organization, etc.
So yes, this is a large contract. This contract is for providing the facilities management services for the Houston North campus. So all three locations there, Fairbanks, Victory Center, and Greens Point. I believe the plan would be for Fallbrook to fall under this as well. Also, University Park System Office, the building there is under this contract, and I believe as well the Transportation Center. So there are several facilities throughout our system that falls under this contract and over a 5-year period. So that is why it is a significant contract.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that it, Ken?
Yes, sir.
All right, need a motion on item 17.
So move.
Second. It's been moved and properly second that we adopt item 17. All those in favor vote by the usual sign of aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it unanimously. Okay. Okay, that's it. Jennifer, you're back up with financial report.
Yes, so the financial report is what I mentioned earlier, because at this point in time, 1 month into the fiscal year, there is really no new significant information to deviate from the budget other than the credit hour decline of 4% instead of 10% for the fall, which is what I noted earlier.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you for another fine job.
I sent a questionnaire in about the blanks being left in the budget. I have a question.
Say what now?
I sent a questionnaire in asking the revenue blanks in the budget, which Jennifer responded and said they were not blanks but zeros. Who is that group, the Financial Planning and Analysis Department, that determines fill in those numbers on the budget, on the revenue stream?
That budget team is part of my team in my area. We develop those revenue estimates, and the revenues are predominantly booked under system office as system-wide revenues. Property taxes, the state appropriations, a lot of that is just grouped together as Lone Star College revenues rather than in a particular campus.
So when the individual campus gets the dollars that they're going to need to fill in those blanks, your group makes that decision, right? As to who gets what.
The budget allocation is a process that we go through the entire year that determines what size budget each campus and system office area receives.
So that is your group that make that decision on what each campus is going to get from a revenue standpoint, whether it be taxes or whatever, a state fund or whatever. That's your group.
We have formulas that we use, Trustee Lloyd. So it's not a person going, well, they get this much and they get that much. It's a formula that we use based on their contact hours, their facility cost. It's all those things, all those items that we have in the budget. A lot of that is historical from the year before. So there's a couple of pages before that for the rest of the trustees who's referring to the budget board book that you have. And there's a couple of pages before that, right, Jennifer? It's either, I think it's right before that or right after that. We can give you the exact pages that break it down by campus, and then you can see all the comparisons. Some of the reports you're going to be receiving from us in the future are just comparing what each campus gets in each category, like staff, full-time people, facilities, what the cost might be, adjuncts, and so you can see on a ratio what that looks like. So
and when you see, if I could just say, when you see where it's broken out by campus, it's always in the expenditure, the budget side. There is no literal giving of the revenues to campuses. The revenues come into the entire system, and then a budget allocation on the expenditure side is what is broken out by campus.
Yeah, I was just curious because when each campus, when you look at the blanks, you can't see what each campus is getting. And I was just trying to figure out who determines what those campuses get in those categories for the revenue. Is that determined by you and your financial people, or is that in collaboration with the presidents or whoever else is involved with that campus?
It's a formula that we use based on the number of students they have and contact hours and their overall cost. So there is no one person that approves it. It's basically a fill in the blank exercise for us.
Yeah, one of the things and I think we did last year, Chancellor Head and Ken, is we went over that during the budget workshop.
Yeah.
And I would encourage us to.
Okay, I wasn't there at that workshop.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, when we go through the workshop, those are good questions. Let's ask those questions. At least my suggestion is let's ask those questions during the workshop so that we all get the benefit of understanding the full scope and processes for putting the budget together.
Yeah, and I'm just saying as somebody with judicial responsibility, if I sign off on something and it's blanks, I get a little nervous when I don't see those numbers in there.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't feel comfortable not knowing those numbers are not there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, good. Well, I think that's okay. But what I was just suggesting, like during the workshop, let's make sure we're all comfortable, with how that budget is put together and provide feedback to staff on, what we need to see to get comfortable.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
Fine. That's all right. Thank you.
Okay. Any future agenda items?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, it's Mike Stone. I've got 2 items I'd like to place on the November board meeting agenda. The first item is a discussion of the LSCS vision and mission and strategic planning. I think probably a 20-minute discussion on this, on the importance of this exercise and gaining consensus to hold board planning sessions in early 2021 may be and it really should coincide with the budget planning sessions. I think it's incumbent on the board, it states so in policy, that the board is responsible for providing the vision for the system. So I think we just have to have a number of discussions to see if the current vision still fits or if it needs to be revised. So that would be the number 1 item. The number 2 item is a review of the revision to the Lone Star System Board Policy, sections IE 1.03. This is what we just approved, I guess, here today. It deals with the election of officers that happens in December. What I'd like for us to do, sir, is to review that policy and exactly so everyone knows how it's going to be executed during that first meeting in December. So everybody has knowledge going into that meeting.
It has been noted.
Thank you, sir.
Any other future agenda items? Unless I get, will someone present a motion to adjourn in a second?
I don't think we need a motion.
Well, that suggestion came up earlier, that we needed a motion. So I don't think we need one either. So the meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
See you later. Enjoy. Now you'll have to bail me out when that comes up again.